some. Thanks for inviting me to share some updates and insights with the Premier Wealth Group. So it's been quite a while since I've had an opportunity to sit down with this group. I know, I've been with the firm now for just shy of 19 years. So I've got a long history with Premier Wealth and the changes that you guys have made over the years. So I like I said, I appreciate being able to connect with you guys again. Fairly informal. Hopefully, if you have questions, please feel free to ask any questions that you have along the way here. But my primary goal is really just to give you guys an update on what's been delivered, what we've been working on, and where we're headed here in the near future. So some exciting changes have definitely happened to CLIC over the last 6 to 9 months. And things continue to get better. And I think you guys will really enjoy some of the insights that I have to share today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And we will get started. So again, for those that just joined or just jumped on, my name is Quenton Dodson. I am one of 3 product managers here at Cambridge. It's myself, Nick Blummy, who has a lot of oversight over like our Wealthport program and some of our Firelight capabilities. Really, his focus is inside of specialized offerings and solutions that we have here at Cambridge. My purview is around CLIC, some of our core systems and what we're doing with that. And then our third partner, Erica Molina, is charged with a lot of our AI and looking at how to bring AI into the firm, and then also how to bring AI to all of you. So the page that I wanted to start with here is actually in Legacy CLIC. I'll refer to CLIC in 2 different ways today. One, Legacy CLIC, and the other way will be the CLIC Workstation, or the new CLIC experience. So anytime I'm referring to Legacy CLIC, I'm referring to what you all have access to today, are using, and going through and generating forms and managing your day-to-day business. So just briefly, Legacy CLIC has been around since about the 2008 timeframe. Originally built to share information on your clients and your client list and being able to work through and update information there. It's definitely grown a lot over the years. And with that, it's also reached kind of its end of life in terms of what we're trying to do with it here at the firm. And we want to modernize technology and the direction that we're going. So as part of that, feedback from all of you over the years and feedback recently has really led us to a couple of different conclusions. One, the a la carte look and feel of the Legacy CLIC system and how the control center and everything works over here is no longer the expectation of most of our financial professionals and their staff. Everyone seems to be looking for a cohesive ecosystem that brings all the tools together so that you can work effectively within that. And that's going to be our focus on the CLIC Workstation when we get there. But as being part of the end of life cycle of CLIC, it's important for us to continue to maintain that and keep it going because it is running our day-to-day business still. So we are making investments in it and trying to make improvements as we're building that new experience out for all of you. In particular, over the last year, we've made some significant changes to our eSignature process. I won't pull that one up in particular on this environment here. This information is safe if you take screenshots or anything. I know we're recording this session as well. This is anonymized data, so it won't reflect true client or account level information, in case anybody is wondering. But things that we have worked on, like I said, in Legacy CLIC, one of those was around eSignature. And after you generate your forms today within CLIC and have that information available to you, When you press generate, it's going to go ahead and open up those forms. You can make changes to it and everything just as you're used to doing. But then what we did was moved away from kind of that real thin e-signature experience that just allowed you to do a couple of things, assign the user or assign your signers and then send it out for e-signature. And what we've done is opened up the full world of DocuSign to all of you. So now you have more control over your envelopes and what that signing experience is going to be for your client. You can send customized messages. You can add signers at the very last moment if you need to, or change. Some of the big problems that it does solve for or address that we've heard is, for example, when you have you're setting up an individual account, individual retirement account. However, the spouse is on a joint checking account and you need their signature for check writing or other things that need to occur. Historically, you would have had to add that spouse or partner into CLIC as a secondary client and work through the process that way. Capturing a bunch of information that's probably really not needed at the account level for that. Now, since you have full control of DocuSign and that's out there, you can actually add that additional signer on the fly by just typing in their name and email address, and they become part of that envelope experience. You're also able to update or add new attachments into it rather than creating a custom upload, custom envelope, or doing multiple envelopes to get all your documents together. You can just create that one and send that out to the client for e-signature. So a lot of benefits overall. And then if any of you have historical knowledge or have worked with DocuSign in the past and had its full suite of capabilities, those are all available to you now. And so right at the moment, not all of Premier Wealth has made the change yet to sign up for that new experience. We have tried to be a little bit more thoughtful about this rollout in particular because of end of year that we ran up on, or tax time right now. We didn't want to necessarily move everyone's cheese all at once. We wanted you to have some control over when you adopted that new capability and experience. And so that is something that you can sign up for. I've been working with Jennifer Steinhardt and kind of talking through what an adoption rollout or plan might look like there for everyone. And when the timing's right, we can absolutely do that. The only recommendation that I make there is if you are going to make the change or move, that you bring anyone who supports you, works in that same office with you, and everybody make the move together. That just helps have a similar experience, and you don't have some on the old and the new. That can cause just a disjointed experience and can cause things to look and feel slightly different. And we'd rather everyone be on the same page together. Any questions on e-signature? Nothing on e-signature. All right. Next thing I wanted to talk about briefly here was the CIP process, or capturing that Patriot Act info. Cambridge did release last year, it was about the Ignite timeframe, and put out a new capability that you no longer actually need to capture driver's license information from your clients, whether that be a brand new client and capturing that information for the first time, or an existing client that needs their driver's license information updated in the system. The reason for that is we now run all clients that are entered into CLIC through a background check system called LexisNexis, and that does our verification for us. If it's able to verify the client, no further information is needed and you're good to go. The way to do that in the legacy CLIC system is pretty simple. All you'll select is non-documentary down here in the bottom, click accept, and that's it. You don't need to enter any other information. We take it from there. basically, and run that background check. It's all based on the client's name, address, and phone type information that you guys provide here in the system, but name and address being the top two things. There are a few. Yeah, go ahead.
Quenton, this is Marcio real quick.
Yeah.
This week, I was onboarding a new client for financial planning engagement, and I had a situation like that. The client had an expired driver's license, and I was wondering if I could expedite the process and just go according to this new system. I went on Indy and I asked about it, and it was super clear to me, say, no, it's not intended for that. You needed to get some document like a passport to get the client in, and it will be quicker if you get the passport. And indeed, I figured out, got the client's passport, and put the passport information in. But I was wondering, is Indy incorrect? Should you have just gone ahead without the driver's license because it was expired and put it through, or indeed I did the right thing to get the passport? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great use case and question. Actually, I think Indy was trying to look out for your best interest, and tried to give you some information that may be slightly outdated. The process could have or should have been for you to just simply go in here, go to check that non-doc and save and continue, and you would have been off to the races just as easily. So I will take that back to the team that's responsible for Indy and that information, and make sure that they know that they're pointing at the latest CIP verification rules and information.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that does remind me, though, of I think 4 important things to call out about this verification process, and when it may be necessary to err on the side of caution and go ahead and collect some of that additional information, either a driver's license, passport, etc. In particular, if you have a young client who is investing for the first time, they don't have a lot of history, a lot of credit history and information out there. LexisNexis is only as good as what data is available to them in all of the core systems that they use to try to verify that client. So sometimes a young investor who, like I said, doesn't have a lot of history, it may be worth going ahead and capturing that just so you don't have any pause in getting the accounts established or a case or a paperwork status opened to add that information after the fact. It's just easier to do it that way. The other scenario is if there's a resident alien, non-resident alien type situation. Again, if they don't have a bunch of history in that status or anything here within the United States, I would go ahead and just, again, err on the side of caution and collect that information as necessary. And then the last 2 scenarios that can occur is if you have a client that's recently moved or updated addresses, and you're trying to verify or get them re-verified through the system here, it's a good idea to go ahead and capture that because, again, LexisNexis is going to potentially flag it because it doesn't recognize that new address at the same time that you're doing this. Now, with that scenario, I will say every time that you press save or save and continue here, we're not re-verifying the client. Typically, after the client's been verified once, we can see that on our side and we're in good shape. And they may, re-verify at some point in the future, but it's not going to be on every single instance here that's going out. So that's why it's important if they are in that update period where, like, it's an existing client and their driver's license has expired, it'll run that check. It may be a good idea to capture that. The last scenario is like recently deployed soldiers that are now using an APO address. If something is getting open there last minute and it's going to that APO address, keep in mind that may also flag just because LexisNexis doesn't have that information. But what we're seeing overall is well over 90% of the time, 95% of the time, These go through with no problem. Less than 3% actually come back with any type of failure or additional action, especially if you kind of follow the rule of thumb with those four scenarios that I gave you there. So definitely should create some efficiency and create a better experience overall for your client. So other questions on that? Okay. The last update that I'll share with you here, it's not in the system quite yet, but is coming here in short order. On the account tab, when you are filling information out, for example, for a 529 account, today 529s, you have to enter the 529 child or beneficiary on that secondary or authorized signer section. Going forward, that information should no longer be required on that tab for especially direct mutual fund business, because it's going to just ask a couple of additional questions right here on the account page, such as the year of anticipated withdrawal, the child's name, and the date of birth of the child. And that's really all it's going to ask. So we're going to cut back a lot on unnecessary fields and information. This also prevents letters from going out to the child on accident or anything, or depending on how they're entered into the system. It just keeps everything tight within and contained within the account list, and really the relationship between you and the owner of the account, not the child at that point. So this should be a good enhancement. We anticipate that coming out within the next couple of weeks, likely, that you'll see some communication. And then once that communication's had enough time to settle in for everyone, we'll get that pushed out to everyone in the field. Questions on the 529 piece? All right, let's talk about some more exciting things. Let's talk about what has also been, again, released recently, and let's get into the what's coming items. So all of you today have access to the CLIC Workstation. Again, the thought process and concept behind the workstation is bringing all of the tools that you need and use to do business with Cambridge into one location.
Hey, Quenton.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I put my hand up. I didn't know if you saw it.
I can't. I'm sorry. Yeah, you just shout it out, and we can definitely pause. What can I do for you?
Can we go back real quick to the CLIC deal?
Sure can.
So one of the things, if you scroll down to the bottom of this, where there's a trusted contact.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know there was this new feature, to do a drop down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's being worked on or whatnot, but can Cambridge add a feature here, just like in secondary authorization, where you can type in a client's last name and then select somebody for it to be populated? Because if somebody's already not in the drop down, then we have to go back to the CRM or figure out what we need to do to go back to the client's information to gather the cell phone information, all this other type of stuff, in order to put it into the trusted contact information. And then, like I said, once it's there, then it's in the drop down. But in the secondary authorized signer form, there is a section where you can type in a client's last name and select a person, and it adds in whether it's a group retirement plan, a trustee, or whatever it might be. Can they have that same search feature under account plan, under trusted contact? Because that would make it so much easier to add a trusted contact than having to go back and forth, whether it's Wealthbox or Redtail, whatever it might be.
To go find that info. Absolutely. We can do that. And actually, we are planning that for the new CLIC experience, where all client searches, contact information, and everything is going to behave exactly the same way, so that you're not guessing where it's coming from. Or if you want to pull it in from a CRM, there'll be an option for you to just pull in from Redtail or Wealthbox, for example.
Okay, cool. And I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or maybe not. But I have one other quick question, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
If we go to the top under the primary investor tab, under let's just say the company trust entity, like it's a huge box and it only gives you like so many characters that you can put in and it cuts off. But
Yes.
then when you go to the account slash plan tab, there's three boxes of like what the registration is. And it's like, it's a smaller box and I can type in so much more stuff in the smaller box than I can on the larger box. So I
Yes.
wasn't sure if they were going to add more characters under the primary investor one that we could add in more features, like whether it's a 401k plan or a corporate business account that we're setting up, and it gets cut off. But I can type so much more under the registration right there.
Sure, sure. Yeah, a couple of reasons that exists today, like that. One, the main driving reason behind it isn't necessarily a limitation of the system. It's a limitation of our custodial partners and what they can take from us, like when we open accounts. And so they have their databases, if you will, set to a character limit. And it's different for the name versus the registration lines and what they'll accept there. In the updated or new CLIC experience, we will open that up so that you can type as many characters that are needed within that. And then we'll, if you're doing business, say with Fidelity or Pershing, we'll truncate or concatenate some of that information so that it does match their formatting that they need in order to be, so it doesn't mess up their system at the same time. So we'll open up and give you the flexibility to put in there what you want so that when it's printing on client letters or information, it's whole and it's not cut off. And then to like auto open the account or other things in CLIC, we'll make that change just briefly to send it to them, but it won't impact what you see visually and or what the client would see as they're receiving letters and information from you and or Cambridge in that case.
Very cool. Because I use Schwab, and so I was curious if the Schwab, I guess, impacts
They
restrictions
do.
or something.
They do have their own character limits that we also have to kind of comply with. So what we found was most are cutting it at the almost the same as what Fidelity and Pershing do. However, Schwab does allow for more characters, and that's why um, we want it to be flexible based on who you're working with. And we also want it to be something that you control. Like you need to see the full name. There's no reason to cut it off. We're just doing that to match, NFS and Pershing for that example.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it, bud. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I apologize, guys. The way that the screen sharing works on Zoom, it won't let me see the hands unless I pop open a participant list and everything on the screen too. So please just unmute and chime right in and stop me. All right, let me hop over here to the workstation. So again, bringing everything into one location, integrating it deeply, going steps beyond just a single sign-on. But the good news is that this is something that's available to you today. You can start leveraging the workstation. You can build out your favorites. For example, if you are a CAP user, or if you're not a CAP user, etc. It's as simple as just clicking the star next to the favorites, and it appears in a couple of places. One, you can see it's adding it to your favorites bar here or grid, and it also will add it up here where you can manage your favorites through navigation. This allows you just to hide things that you don't need or want or do business with, but they're still available to you in the event that you wanted to go explore and or pick up a different type of business in the future. It also comes with decent explanation on what each of these tools are and represent. This should help with, onboarding new advisors into, the Premier Wealth family, as well as just having a better explanation of what some of these tools do. As we mature, we may get away from some of these names. Ideally, when I look at this, I would rather, the word instead of Reg Ed, for example, under the compliance section, I would rather you all see an option for submit advertising or submit correspondence. and be more task-based is kind of what we're hearing from everyone, rather than trying to know the name of a tool or system behind the scenes. And so eventually we'll get there with that, but we want to warm everyone up to the idea first of the workstation and why we're trying to really create this ecosystem for you. Within the workstation, like I said, after you set up your favorites and everything, you can also kind of check out what's going on, what's new. We do update this card pretty regularly, and it's going to have anything new that we've recently taught Indy. It's going to have anything new that's rolled out or new features and capabilities within the workstation itself. For example, we added the 1099 tax forms in here under the tax documents section in compensation. So you can now go out to the workstation here and get those tax documents. That's just, a couple of things. Another neat feature here, I'm not sure how many of you took advantage of it during the annual registration renewal period. We have a growing number of financial professionals that like to pay their fees to the home office or any monies due to the home office via their credit card so they can get their points, whatever it might be, rather than taking it from their compensation. So we did implement and provide a payment portal out here in which you can do a handful of really different fee types that we're trying to, again, collect. But if you wanted to pay for your annual registration renewal through here, you could do that. There is a FP invoice now. So if any of you are utilizing, say, Office Assistant or one of the source offerings, if you don't want that coming out of your compensation during the next compensation run and you'd rather pay for it by card or something else, that's an option for you in here as well. And you can just do that. It submits a one-time payment. We don't store your card information or anything like that. To keep everything secure on our side, we just receive the final payment and everything as it's going through the system here. So like I mentioned, those tax documents are also available out here to you in the tax document section. It'll pull all that information in as you're going through and working with the workstation and the tax years that it's reporting on. They did add, I believe, last year's and this year's is in there. The last major piece on the workstation, kind of the landing page that we're looking at here, is Indy, of course, and it sounds like some of you are taking advantage of that already. Indy is, without a doubt, I think we're seeing like 96 to 98% accuracy on almost all questions and responses. Where we do see some information that's slightly off, just as you experienced in the example earlier, with the Patriot Act or collecting that driver's license info and what's there. Again, I took a note. I'll make sure we get that back to the team here so that they can address that. But really what it's designed to do is answer questions about anything that had to do with creating paperwork, processes, and what you might need to go through CLIC, what it might take to, say, submit an ACH through the system, or if you're trying to work with one of the custodial partners and have custodial type questions, that information can be brought back up here within Indy. Indy also has information around some compliance and some of the compliance manual information, as you can see here, retirement plan information, and then Cambridge tools such as CLIC, the eSignature process, and other things. So if you're ever wondering what it can do and what it's been updated on, just simply ask what can Indy do, or use that pre-canned question there, and it'll give you an up-to-date response on everything that it's learned so far as well. Any questions on Indy? Okay. Lastly, the section that continues to grow here is going to be this alerts and notifications. So here soon, gone are the days where you're going out to multiple systems to track your alerts or things that you need to be notified on. For example, we'll be bringing in paperwork status in here and eventually doing away with the current paperwork status system. Cases that are coming from our Salesforce instance internally here. You'll see those here. Trade review alerts and notifications will become available here. Anything that requires document supervision, etc. And then we also have been working through and looking at pulling in the custodial platform information. And then more recently, we also have an ability now to look at Schwab, so that my one Schwab user that's out there, their roadmap for 2026 is to create a bunch of API capabilities and integration points for firms like Cambridge. And so as 2026 progresses, we'll keep an eye on what they've exposed. And then the plan is for us to tap into those and start bringing some of that experience in-house here as well, so that you can use that more efficiently. Things such as statuses, for example, on Schwab Business, Fidelity, Pershing Business, those things should be available in here. We also want Indy to be at a point where if you wanted to check on a status of something, say at one of those custodial partners, you can simply ask Indy about the status of an ACH or a wire that's recently been submitted, and it should be able to give you feedback and information on that. So stay tuned on that. Like I said, NFS and Pershing, they do have that capability, so we'll be tapping into that here, say Q2, Q3 timeframe, and we'll keep an eye on the Schwab stuff as they're maturing their technology on the back end and what they can give to broker dealers like ourselves. The next piece that we'll look at here is, again, we're starting to replace that legacy CLIC system and experience. So you're seeing pieces of it here through the workstation, bringing information together. But we also have been working on, more recently here, the client management section. And client management is the beginning of replacing really those core components of CLIC that you know today. Your client list, your data entry that's going in to manage that client. And then we'll move into accounts, etc. We have, we're about 3/4 of the way done with the client section. Jennifer is one of our beta users, and I give her a lot of credit for jumping in and helping us out to make sure that this is looking and working great for everybody at Premier Wealth before we would go turn everyone on. So we've got a really early handful of early adopters here that are just helping us fine tune some things like performance or other pieces that are necessary. But this should be game changing in terms of how you're interacting with client data, what it's integrated with here long term, and what that experience looks like going forward. Of course, it's all embedded within the workstation here. You can get rid of Indy and slide it off to the side. You can get rid of your navigation and move it over as well. I would say most prefer to have Indy open so they can ask questions as they're going through a process. It's kind of the behavior we're starting to see appear. Let's talk about the client list for a few moments, though. The client list does look and behave very differently than what it does in the legacy CLIC system. The client list is designed to be kind of a one-stop shop. As we add the account information in here, you'll no longer need to go to clients or accounts independently. Every account for, in this case, say a John Adams, would appear right here under John, and you would be able to see that information in the client list. Also, all clients, so if you are supporting one or multiple financial professionals at the office, you'll have access to every client that they have, that the financial professional has, and you won't need to proxy any longer and pick a different FP and then go find that client. Now you can simply use the search function up here. Searching for things like the client's preferred name is something that you can do. I can look for all clients with the name of John. As you can see, we've got a handful that are John or Johnston that come in. If we wanted to look for a particular financial professional code, such as 54S in this 54, I didn't capture the right one, but you get the gist of what I'm going for there. 545, excuse me. You can see that it does limit it down and pull in those that are associated with only that FP code. So really the search capabilities, if you wanted to search by a date of birth, for example, for a client, you could do that. It's really open to just about any item here within the list itself. I will say Premier Wealth has quite a few clients. Jennifer and her access that she has today, when she goes in to look at the information, it generates a client list of nearly 28,000 clients. The good news is we've done a lot to enhance performance. Normally, if you were trying to populate your client list, even with say 1,000 clients or fewer, it can take upwards of 20 to 30 seconds to get that information to return. Now all of that, including those 28,000 clients that Jennifer is going in to support, load in 4 seconds or less typically. So it's a very fast process. The performance and power behind this new CLIC system is bar none to the legacy CLIC and what you had previously seen and experienced there. Also, navigating from page to page. You'll see down here, normally you would click next or click on the number 2 to navigate to another page. That would require some additional loading time and information. Now it's as simple as pressing the arrow and it moves right next to it. What I'm showing you here is in production and released. So this isn't a wireframe or anything like that. It is working that fast and moving from page to page. So just some cool things that we've done with performance overall to make CLIC that much better.
Quenton, a quick question. This is Peter Aker. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. Pretty new advisor, so definitely less than a year, but still getting clients moved over. So we're kind of not looking at this in detail, but I have 2 questions. Number one, I have found, and I was just experimenting, so maybe there's a better way to do this. I'm on the main page. I believe I have legacy CLIC and need to begin using Workstation. So the first question is there a way to get some ongoing training on how to use Workstation? Because I'm figured out a little bit of the legacy CLIC, but I'm concerned about now moving to yet another platform to try to navigate through our day-to-day activity. Is there a way to get some of the basic stuff? A lot of people here probably are well beyond this, but I don't know how to use the Workstation yet.
Yeah, 100%. We're happy to support you however you need to, Peter. What I'll do is after the call here, I'll shoot you an email and then connect you with a couple of folks that I trust, wholeheartedly to do some of that in-depth training for you, maybe show some tips and tricks of the system. And then, of course, Jennifer and the team at Premier Wealth is really great as well and have a lot of that figured out and have been working in there for many years. But we're happy to support you however you like.
Okay. The second question, very briefly, is I noticed that I log in to Cambridge and we're dealing with legacy, so I don't know if the homepage looks different on legacy CLIC or not. And I see a favorite apps or a featured apps column on the left-hand side. I click on CLIC and I go to CLIC. And then I say, well, gee, I want to go back to the CLIC Workstation or to Reg Ed or to something else that's on the main page. There is no way I see on this page on Legacy CLIC to get back to the Cambridge homepage. I can go to Click Home, but there's nowhere I have to log out, get back off, come back in. I mean, it's totally crazy when it comes to workflow.
So what should happen for you is if you were to choose, say, CLIC for the current experience that you have, it should open a new window or a new tab within the browser so that you can get back to it. And then if you wanted to open something else, you can have multiple tabs open from the CIR2 homepage today.
Okay, I do see that. And
Yep.
but what was happening was that homepage was turning into CLIC. So there was no homepage tab remaining.
Yeah. So a couple of ways to do that. It could be your browser settings that cause that, depending on how you have it set up. So if that's the case, we can look at that. Or your other option is to just right click and open link in new tab. And that will also give you that option so that you can have multiple instances or windows open for that session. In the new, totally different. You've got breadcrumbs and information over here that you can always get back to. For instance, if I get 5 steps deep and I want to go back, those breadcrumbs are always here at the top for you to get to.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
You can open directly from here because all the navigation works the same. So again, it'll open in a new tab for you so you can have multiple tabs open.
Yeah, that would be helpful too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And if you wanted to start leveraging the workstation, rather than CIR2, once you can get into, once you're logged in for the day, you can do that. You can get to the legacy CLIC experience from here until we have replaced it fully and everything. So you can actually do that from here, and again, should open a brand new tab for you so that you can keep as many sessions going as you want to.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Great questions, great feedback. I appreciate that. So let's take a step further here beyond just the client list, and let's get into some actual client information. You'll notice here that it's a much cleaner look compared to your legacy CLIC information and experience. You're not going to have all those yellow fields in the new. This is the old. This is that new experience and some of the things that are there. First and foremost is today in, again, legacy CLIC. For example, if you have a client that also has, say, a living trust and you're using their social security number as their tax ID for that living trust as well, you're entering 2 pieces of information. You're entering information for that entity in legacy CLIC on that same record that you have the client's name on, and it can get confusing and frustrating, and the client sees that sometimes in their the letters and pieces that go out, mailings that go out. So in the new, that's no longer the case. You can have that, but it does separate those records for you. So in this case, if John Adams had a John Adams Living Trust, was using that same tax ID, you're able to create an entity for John Adams, such as that trust, and that information is captured in here the correct way, or the way that we would expect to see it. You can also enter a client's preferred name now. We track and manage that rather than not having that information. That's not even an option in the legacy CLIC system today. It's kind of interesting or funny, but all of the date fields, for example, in CLIC, the legacy CLIC system, necessarily don't operate the same way. Same thing going back to that trusted contact question that we had at the very beginning of the call. Problems like that are solved. You'll get the same experience over and over. There's reusability in the information, in the data, and it's a consistent look and feel. Rather than what has been built upon over the years with the system. So some interesting or another neat feature that the new client management pages will also offer is, for example, if you're changing a last name of a client or updating a date of birth because it was entered wrong or captured incorrectly, those things happen. Those typically require additional documentation, though, to update or change, maybe because they're getting married, divorced, or to fix that date of birth. The system now will prompt you to upload those documents when making that change right here. And you don't need to go to web capture. You don't need a trade key. You just upload those documents and hit save, and it'll send them right over to Cambridge. So this is one of the very first starts of us getting rid of web capture and the trade key process as you know it today. That's all. The plan is throughout 2026 to eventually get completely off of the concept of trade keys, web capture, and all that information. And you'll have a new method to get information here to the home office that will be way more streamlined and efficient.
Quenton, I have a question. This is Greg Carroll.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
So I actually have two questions. The first one is to reduce redundancy when we're processing new clients or onboarding new clients. Is there a way to get CLIC and, let's say, Redtail to talk to each other? So I'm not inputting their name and information in Redtail, and then I got to do it in CLIC, or vice versa?
100%. You can do that today as well. Even in the legacy CLIC system, you can connect Redtail to it. The new CLIC will have Redtail, Wealthbox, and a couple of other options. But even in the legacy CLIC, you can do that today. Connect your Redtail, and then you can pull clients in from Redtail. And then you can also link them to Redtail so that if you update, say, address information in Redtail, it will sync to CLIC and vice versa. So those options exist today in legacy, and then they'll definitely persist in the new.
Well, I'll have to learn about that then.
Yeah, take advantage of it. I didn't even think to hit that one. It's been around for a while. There's some good information out on CIR2 for it, but let me write down your name here, Greg, and I'll get with Jennifer or somebody that can give me, I don't know if I can see the full list of everybody that's joined the call here, but I'll get your guys' contact info. Same for Peter on training. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Second question I have for you is, in the 20 years that I've been here, the technology has changed tremendously, most for the better. One thing that has not changed is CIR statements in Albridge. That is the doggiest piece of crap software that we have to utilize to, report back to our clients. And I just think it's useless. Is there any chance that that's going to change?
I think what you'll see is more flexibility or more choices to pick there. I don't know that the company yet has come to the conclusion that they want to move away or off of the Wove or CIR statements platform. But I know that this last update that we went through when it did go to Wove did not turn out anywhere near what we were expecting from Pershing. So there's been a lot of discussion, Greg, but I don't have a good answer for you other than we do now allow for Black Diamond is always a choice, of course, super expensive. Advise on also is an option that we're starting to see some financial professionals pick up in lieu of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. I'm not sure where the firm's at with any decision making on that thought process, but I'm happy to pass along your feedback on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a couple of other changes that are part of this here is, again, you'll notice that there's very few things that are actually called out here as being required on the client profile. There's two main reasons for that. One is we want you to have the flexibility to pull over data from your CRM with as complete as it is, but not enforce some arbitrary rules about it. Or if you want to start a client and just leave them in here partially completed, that's okay. Where we would start to truly enforce the next steps is as you're going through the account open process. And that is when we would start asking for things such as, maybe an email address, cell phone. That's where we would start requiring some additional information, or even an address for that matter. The address behavior or functions are going to look quite a bit different. You know, switching back to legacy CLIC here for just a moment. You know, to enter an address today is lines 1, 2, city, state, zip, and you're putting that in, you're pressing save, and then validating it and pressing save again. Going forward, though, your updated experience will be start to type the address. It will actually do a lookup of that information that matches and validates right on the spot. So it's going to tell you that this is a verified address. It's going to give you that feedback immediately. You can still edit it if you choose by clicking that, and it'll show you that more traditional look. But otherwise, any addresses going forward, whether it's the trusted contacts, secondary clients, bennies, etc., all of them will behave this way. It's doing a lookup there. We also now support APO addresses in a much better format here, and we also support international addresses, and it's doing the same type of lookup and information. So for example, if I wanted to start entering an APO address, you can see I just typed the word unit. It's going to start giving it to me. If we wanted to do an international address, the same will be true. It'll format it to the appropriate country's format and information. So just some significant changes there that should make life much easier for everyone, and also give you some validation that you have picked the right address. It's recognized by the U.S. Postal Service, and it'll give you that verification stamp or badge right here on the page.
Quenton, Peter Aker.
Yeah.
Just related to something you said a minute or two ago about required elements to open an account. I have found, again, this is legacy CLIC, that unless you have certain elements, I think an SSN is one, and there are other things, you can't even begin to put in John Smith, and I know he lives in Hershey, and I've got his phone number, and he called in with this. You can't even begin that. And at times when you talk to a client, you want to put that in right now, set it aside until you get the other elements. Is that being addressed so that I can put in just a name, just a whatever in order to begin it? Then I can go back to it, begin to fill in other elements.
100%. That's exactly the experience that I'm explaining there. Yep. So also with the addresses, you can do a separate mailing. Again, same functionality. If you want to edit down to the 3 or 4 lines, you can do that as well. But right now, this is, like I said, we're about 3/4 of the way through our implementation here. Really, the only thing we have left to complete out the client profile is, I think, 3 major sections. The affiliation questions, of course, the CIP section, which will default to the LexisNexis check, employment, and then the last piece that we'll finish on with the new client management section before we start offering it to more folks in the field is suitability information. So we made the decision to get away from requiring you to enter suitability information the way we do today on every single account. That's really pertains to the client and the client's record. So things such as their annual income, net worth, tax brackets, all of that is moving over to the client's profile. So you enter it once, you maintain it one time, and you're not updating it across all the account records as you do today. The only thing that would remain on the account record would be things such as the primary investment objective and or the risk tolerance on the particular page. So that's going to be a major improvement, and it drastically cuts down on the required fields as well to establish another new account. I know I've got 4 minutes left here, so I'll just give you some timelines just to kind of set some expectations with everyone. We fully anticipate being done with the client profile page here that I've been showing by the end of first quarter. which means that it will become generally available to everyone to start to use, likely around that April time frame. And then we'll set a date in the future and kind of work backwards from that and try to move everyone or get everyone moved to the new experience and shut down the old client pages inside of Legacy CLIC, for example. Q2 is when we kick off the new account open flows. So we'll be working specifically on really the way we've kind of cut up our work is we'll be focusing on individual retirement type accounts. So your SEPs, your traditionals, everything that we see, probably the bulk of our registrations and accounts that are open today. We'll then move on to individual registration types such as 529s or individuals themselves. Then we'll move on to trust and entities, as well as group retirement plans throughout the rest of 2026. We would anticipate that the account portion, especially as we get done with the individual retirement types, should be generally available around, I would say, mid to late summer. And from there, our goal this year, the goal for me and my team is to be ready to turn off or shut down the whole new account open process and experience by the end of 2026. So we want to be out of Legacy CLIC for those core capabilities this year. And we're working at a fast and furious pace. Things are coming together well, and I'm happy to come back and keep this group posted throughout the year on progress and how things are going, and do another call just like this. So any other questions, open-ended things before we wrap up? Might I ask, is anybody willing to share their overall thoughts with what I've shown you here today? What's your first blush at seeing some of this new stuff?
Hey, Quenton.
Yeah.
This is Josh. He's right. I work mainly in the group retirement plan space on CLIC. Just some of the questions in there, like as far as like investment experience and stuff like that, are those questions going to be kind of taken out?
Yes. If they don't apply, we're getting rid of them.
Yeah,
for those scenarios.
It seems like a lot of those questions are more focused on individuals, right, than businesses. So yeah, so there's just certain questions that don't make sense when we go through the entering the data for a group retirement plan.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, an entity shouldn't have any investment experience or anything like that. We don't want to treat it that way, or those corporate plans. So,
thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it again. Thanks for the opportunity to share some of these updates with you. Hopefully, this gives you a sense of how we're moving the needle here at Cambridge, how we're adjusting to a modern approach that all of you are asking for, and making some meaningful updates to CLIC overall. And we'll keep you posted as we continue.
Thank you, Quenton. If you want to send, you had mentioned some handouts or some information that you wanted to get out to the group. If you want to send those to me, I can disperse those out to the entire group.
Sure, I will do that for sure. And then if I just want to make sure, so Peter and Greg, some training pieces, and we'll make sure that I'll reach out to both of you on that one. So, well, hey, thanks again. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.